We're also coming off a great week. Shout out to Alex Cole, an avid listener of the podcast. Subscribes to use the solver, which I'm still trying to figure out what that is. I just know I got to pay taxes to the government for it. But he used ETR and the solver to win the Millie Maker on DraftKings this past week. Congratulations to him. Love to see the subscribers win money.
Insane $1 million score. You can see his team. We retweeted it after he tweeted out his team. Insane team. Shout out to Alexander there for sure. Story number 1 comes from Kansas City. The return of Rashee Rice, Evan. It went as we hoped, kind of as we expected. He comes off the 6-game suspension and is immediately the focal point of the NFL's most pass-centric offense. He ends up with 10 targets on 19 routes. Very first drive, shovel pass to Rashee Rice at the goal line for a touchdown. They also tried a quick hitter to him. On the second drive, he gets a touch pass from 3 yards out that would have been another touchdown if not for a false start. Ends up with 7 catches for 42 yards and 2 touchdowns. Smashing debut, even though his usage was limited here. Evan, what did you think of Rashee Rice's return and any other Chiefs thoughts?
Yeah, that was everything that we wanted. The only thing is that the Chiefs didn't even have to keep their foot to the gas. They wound up playing backups late in the game, and so we didn't get to see the full thing. But I mean, every sign was positive from Rashee Rice. I think he can be the number 1 overall fantasy receiver the rest of the way. I'd have him ranked at worst as like wide receiver 8, and I'd be tempted to have him in the top 5. The stats from the Sunday Night Football broadcast were that he ran 16 routes and got targeted on 10. Other places I saw 19 routes, targeted on 10. Whatever the case may be, they were going out of their way to get Rashee Rice the ball. And the way that Patrick Mahomes is playing, especially in comparison to the past 2 years where he was not the best quarterback in the league, he looks like the best quarterback in the league again.
Yeah.
So all kinds of reasons for excitement for Rashee Rice. I think the Chiefs look like the best team in the NFL right now. And, a couple of weeks ago, they were below 500. Chris Jones is playing at an elite level. I love that they shifted to Isaiah Pacheco this past week for him to be the lead back. I mean, he's clearly a better option than Kareem Hunt. And they like Kareem Hunt. I mean, Kareem Hunt can be fine in certain roles, but it's not like Isaiah Pacheco can't execute at the goal line. When they're giving the ball to Kareem Hunt in those instances, it's just like, oh, well, this is a way to keep him involved. But if they really want to play their best players, like Isaiah Pacheco is their best back for sure.
Okay. I just want to I have some thoughts on the backfield. I want to tie it up on Rashee Rice here for a second. He had 4 targets inside the 10-yard line on 19 routes. So now he's tied for 11th in the entire league. And those short area targets, those little touch passes, all that stuff, that's where Travis Kelce ate for so long in terms of scoring touchdowns around the goal line. Travis Kelce's in trouble here. I know he had that one big play on the broken play in this game. I think Travis Kelce's in trouble because Rashee Rice is going to take so many of the short area stuff and so many of these goal line routes. Xavier Worthy led the wide receivers in routes with 30 on 40 Mahomes dropbacks, but he is not getting that short area stuff. So I think there's a lot of people with Worthy right now, Evan, sitting on their team. Are you worried if you have Xavier Worthy right now, or how would you think about Worthy rest of season with Rashee Rice now back?
I think he's going to be volatile. I think that there's going to be spike weeks and down weeks. They don't have to play the Raiders every week. I mean, the Raiders are maybe the worst team in the NFL right now. And so we can get 4 quarters worth of Xavier Worthy on a consistent basis. The Raiders, oh my God, they ran 30 offensive plays. Like, we'll get to them.
Yeah.
But Xavier Worthy, 4 targets in his time on the field, 3 catches for 35 yards. The way that this game went, I don't feel bad about that actually at all. I know he didn't help you in fantasy in that particular game, but I think that there are big weeks ahead. I think that this passing offense is going to revolve around Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice and the way that they complement each other, because they have very contrasting roles. And so I think that we'll see Rashee Rice pretty much eat every week and Xavier Worthy have big-time spikes. I'm actually excited about Xavier Worthy going forward.
Right. So you see what defenses are doing, kind of similar to Detroit, right? Where like Amon-Ra and Rashee Rice, they are running the routes that defenses want to give up to these teams. They do not want them to get beat deep. And you see these really bad games from Jameson Williams. We'll get to him here in a second. I'm just maybe a little bit more worried than Evan if they're just going to send Worthy down the field. That is where teams try not to let the Chiefs beat them. But yeah, with the way Mahomes is playing right now, and if they keep doing this with Rashee Rice, maybe we'll see teams creep up further and then you get Worthy over the top. But the way Mahomes is playing right now, clear the MVP. I mean, he's down to plus 175, ahead of Josh Allen, ahead of Baker Mayfield, ahead of Drake May. I mean,
So I don't want to draw a straight comparison between Xavier Worthy and Jamison Williams because the Lions have a dominant rushing attack
mhm.
and the Chiefs do not have that. So I think that the Chiefs are going to not be pushed, but be incentivized to get the ball to Xavier Worthy more. There are just games where like the Lions, like against the Bucks, they didn't even need to involve Jamison Williams. I
Yeah.
think that the Chiefs are going to more go out of their way to get the ball to Xavier Worthy. I understand that though. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying. I think Xavier Worthy is going to be better than Jamison Williams has been to this point, though.
Okay. The other reason I wanted to highlight the Chiefs here is because of the Brashard Smith stuff. There are a lot of slappies, as they're called, very interested in the Brashard Smith progression here. I don't think that the rushing stuff that he got in this game is that viable. When Mahomes sat out in this game, they finally went and rested him. Carries were Pacheco 13, Kareem Hunt 4, Brashard Smith 3. So it was good that he got 3 carries, but that some of that, was late, etc. Where you're really seeing Brashard Smith work and where it can work for you in fantasy is as a pass catcher, lining up out wide, lining up in the slot, playing the Jerick McKinnon role. They trust him to throw him the football already, caught all 5 of his targets here for 42 yards. He's clearly their best option in this passing back role. And so I thought he's handled himself pretty well. I don't think he's going to get a lot of base rushing stuff, but I do think that he can be in that McKinnon role for them. So I just wanted to address that on Brashard Smith. Role is clearly growing, and they're trusting him there in the passing back role.
If the Chiefs want to optimize their backfield, it'll be Pacheco and then Brashard Smith. They need to get to a place where they can trust Brashard Smith for a significant role. But I mean, that would be how they would optimize. Would be Isaiah Pacheco lead back, Brashard Smith, Jerick McKinnon role.
Yep. All right. Story number 2 this week comes from Tampa. This was a rough Monday Night Football for the Tampa Bay Bucks. They go to Detroit and they muster just 9 points. But more importantly, they lose Mike Evans for quote unquote most of the season after he broke his collarbone in this game, also sustained a concussion on the play. Just brutal for one of the team leaders, seemingly like one of the good dudes in the NFL and one of the most consistently productive wide receivers ever. So tough night for the Bucks. Evan, what do you think about the Mike Evans injury fallout? Any other Bucks thoughts?
Yeah, and it's brutal for Mike Evans in real life because this is a guy that how many seasons of 1,000+ yards has he had? I mean, the most in NFL history, at least tied for the most. Like I think he's a first ballot gold jacket type of guy, or at least really early ballot. I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame, and that streak is going to come to an end. And I thought he looked pretty good before the injury. He made some great catches. He almost made the catch on the play where he got injured. But yeah, concussion, broken collarbone. I don't know if we're going to see him for the rest of the season. Baker Mayfield in this game went 0 for 7 on passes traveling 20+ yards in the air. So I think that this took some of that life out of his MVP candidacy. In the first half, it's the Bucs were going out of their way to get the ball to Mike Evans. As soon as the second half kicked off, it was like all about Emeka Egbuka. And I thought Emeka Egbuka played pretty well for a guy that, as of Thursday or even Friday, we didn't even think that he was going to play. He toughed it out. And then Rachaad White, I mean, he got nothing because the Bucs were playing from behind so much. But yeah, I mean, the Lions outclassed the Buccaneers. Oh, also big shout out to the Lions defensive backs, the backup defensive backs, because the Lions were without like 3 or 4 starters in the secondary, and the backups come in, guys like Nick Whiteside, guys who have barely played, and they came in, Arthur Millette, they came in and they balled out. The Lions defensive backs in this game had 12 pass breakups. They played out of their freaking minds, especially considering that they were backups against a guy that people were talking up as an MVP candidate in Baker Mayfield.
Okay, so just circling back to the wide receiver stuff here for a second. This is becoming a major issue for them. Mike Evans is going to miss probably 6 to 8 weeks, maybe more, maybe the season, as Evan said. Chris Godwin coming off the dislocated ankle. Now he has a leg issue. I have no idea when he's coming back. And then Emeka Egbuka in this game, as Evan said, I thought he looked pretty good, but he has a hamstring issue. 44 routes on 54 Baker dropbacks. They're going to need Tez Johnson, Evan. And, on that slip screen play, you
Yes.
could see the athleticism. I mean, he is an athletic dude, very small, but a very athletic dude. They're going to need him in week 8 at New Orleans. They're also going to need Cade Otton, and you saw Cade Otton get off for a big game here. So there's some ancillary pieces here. Like their passing game is still going to operate, I think, at a reasonably high level because Baker is so good. And so I'm optimistic about guys like Otton and Tez Johnson right now. Any thoughts on those guys here going forward?
Yeah, Tez Johnson is like on the radar as like a legit fantasy starter right now. Remember Mike Renner compared him to Tank Dell coming out of college. Really weird profile, 154 pounds, ran in the 4.5s, but all of his other athletic metrics were like really, really good. And he was insanely productive in college. And he's shown like legit big playability, very small sample again, but legit big playability and some chemistry with Baker Mayfield. He is making mistakes. There was a play where he ran the wrong route and almost got Mike Evans injured early in this game. But I mean, he's got ability and he's going to be on the field a lot going forward. And they've shown enough confidence in Tez Johnson as a 7th round rookie to play him on like 75% of the snaps in multiple games. So yeah, he's on the radar absolutely as like a wide receiver 3 in fantasy.
Yeah, and so if you are worried about Godwin production rest of season, and you think Mike Evans is going to be out for the year, you can see how this is really clearing the way for Emeka Egbuka to go absolutely nuts and Tez to be viable and Cade Otton to be viable as well. And I also want to highlight this schedule that they have late in the season, the Bucs. Weeks 13 through 17, Bucs play Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Dolphins. So it's getting more condensed here. The schedule is opening up, and I like some of the guys they have behind. So it sucks for Mike Evans. It sucks for Godwin. But for Egbuka, Tez, Sterling Shepard, Cade Otton, like, it's actually kind of exciting. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff for the Bucs right now. Story 3 comes from the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers lose at home to the Colts in a very high-scoring game. Big story was one that we hit on in the top 5 last week, but we have to hit it again, Evan, because Oronde Gadsden, 48 routes on 61 Justin Herbert dropbacks here. Over the last 2 weeks, Gadsden has run 78 routes on 100 Justin Herbert dropbacks. And in this game, crazy production for a player that was crazy productive in college at the tight end position as well. So we talked about this last week, Evan. Anytime there is a new tight end to hit the scene, it is very exciting because the bar is so low. How sustainable do you think this Gadsden stuff is for the Chargers?
I think it's sustainable because the Chargers have embraced the fact that they need to throw the football. Their best means of moving the chains right now is to throw the football. Justin Herbert's, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and that's their best option, especially without Omarion Hampton, who now we're expecting to miss, 5 to 7 weeks as opposed to the initial 4 that would accompany being placed on IR. So yeah, I'm buying it on Oronde Gadsden. He's like a top 10 fantasy option at tight end moving forward. Also, Chargers, because they play on Thursday night, they had to issue a participation report. They didn't actually practice, but they had estimations. And Joe Alt and Trey Pipkins, their starting left tackle and their starting right tackle, were both limited in practice, giving them a chance to play.
Yeah, that'd be exciting for them. Also, Hassan Haskins dealing with a hamstring injury. He was on the injury report as well. I'll get to the Vidal.
He was on the injury report as DNP.
Right.
So I would not expect him to play on Thursday.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one to watch for the Vidal stuff. Vidal did outsnap Haskins 49-25 in this game on Sunday, and Vidal was up 14-3 in opportunities, but they got behind early. And so that's why you saw Justin Herbert drop back 61 times. And at times, 61 times is a ridiculous amount of times to drop back in a game, period. And so you're going to see inflated stats. But also it was against kind of a softish Colts kind of prevent for a lot of this. And so I don't want to go too nuts on the Chargers stuff, but still, they aren't even using Will Dissly and Tyler Conklin. Tyler Conklin played 0 offensive snaps in week 6. Will Dissly has only ran 9 routes in the last 2 weeks. Gadsden has run 78. So remember, this is a guy that entered Syracuse as a wide receiver, moved to tight end, and went 73, 9, 34, 7 for Syracuse in 2024. This kind of production at the tight end position is just so rare. And like, even if you think that it's flimsy because Justin Herbert dropped back 61 times against zone, prevent whatever stuff, then yeah, I still think it's exciting.
Should mention this was the game, Colts-Chargers, that Alex Cole stacked to win the Millie Maker. He had Herbert, he had Gadsden, he had Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, that took some kahunas to play Keenan Allen. And he had Jonathan Taylor, and I think he had Tyler Warren, maybe? Double tight end? I can't remember, but
yeah,
he had those first 5 guys.
Yep. Yeah, and that game got completely nuts there between the Chargers and the Colts. All right. Let's go to the Carolina Panthers for story number 4. Panthers go to East Rutherford to face the Jets. They embarrass Justin Fields, hold the Jets to 6 points, win 13-6. From the Panthers' point of view, there were 2 big stories here. First, Chuba Hubbard returns from the calf injury and plays it, kind of roughly even with Rico Dowdle. And second, Bryce Young hurts his ankle. Andy Dalton finished this game out. Let's start with the running backs here, Evan. Chuba Hubbard did start, and I was wrong, man. I thought Rico would start this game. I thought it'd be more like 60-40, 65-35 in favor of Rico. Chuba ended up starting this game, gets the whole first series. They mostly kind of rotated series from there. In the end, Chuba 38 snaps, Rico 33. Chuba 17 routes, Rico 9. Rico 19 opportunities, Chuba 17. So it was tight between these guys. They said that they were talking to Seattle. They were talking or looking at Seattle, looking at Detroit for ideas of how to use 2 running backs. And they did. I mean, that is kind of what they did. What do you think of how they used the backs in this game, Evan? Do you think that'll be the case going forward?
Well, shout out ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, who had this report dead on before the game. And you and I both were kind of like, nah, we're going to trust our intuition. Or that's what I said.
Yeah.
And 65-35. No, it was 50-50, maybe 54-46, assuming that adds up to 100. I don't know. I'm not great at math. But in favor of Chuba. I don't really care who starts, but, that's what they're going to do, I think, at least for the foreseeable future. Also, Rico Dowdle did outplay Chuba Hubbard, at least slightly. Chuba Hubbard was pretty good in the passing game, but as a runner, Rico Dowdle was much better. I think that this could work for them. First of all, they need 2 backs because they need to be a run-first offense because of how much they've invested into their offensive line, all the money to those guards, the 2 stud tackles, and also, the limitations of their quarterback, who is now nursing an injury. And we may see Andy Dalton.
We will.
We will see Andy Dalton
Yes.
against Buffalo. And you can run the ball on Buffalo. So I think that they'll stick with this, at least for the foreseeable future, a series-by-series rotation with Chuba starting, but Rico Dowdle heavily involved.
Yeah, and so you see with Seattle, like they mentioned Seattle as a team that they were looking at. You see it makes it kind of hard to click these guys, unless they get a lot of running back carries off, as we saw Seattle get last night. But the floor is just lowered and it's tough. I don't think that the Panthers are going to score as many touchdowns as Seattle. And so it's just tough, if they're going to split evenly. But yeah, I mean, it's just is what it is. I agree with Evan.
But how about the Panthers have won 3 in a row, and they are above 500 for the first time since 2021. Do you know who their coach was in 2021?
No idea.
Matt Rule. And their quarterback depth chart was Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, and XFL superstar PJ Walker.
I mean, who have they beat? They've beat the Jets, they've beat the Cowboys, and they've beat the Dolphins. So yeah, not terrible. 3 straight wins. They'll take it. But
I'm not saying that they're good. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying that they're good. They have a lot of issues, but they have a winning record for the first time in almost a half decade.
Okay. On this Bryce Young, they are calling Bryce Young's ankle sprain a high ankle sprain. And they're doing the thing where it's a high ankle sprain, but he's also day-to-day. We know that doesn't make any sense, right? They also said a few weeks ago that Jatavian Sanders had a high ankle sprain. He ended up missing 3 weeks. So I think Bryce Young could end up missing more time than maybe some people think here. Andy Dalton is almost certainly going to start in week 8. Andy Dalton is 37 years old now. He has had plenty of reps with the Panthers. Since joining the Panthers in 2023, Andy Dalton has been at 6.4 yards per attempt. Bryce Young, since joining the Panthers in 2023, he's been at 5.8. It's hard to dispute, Evan, that Andy Dalton has been better for the wide receivers than Bryce Young has been. So do you think that in our heads we should be upgrading Tedero McMillan, Xavier Legette, Jatavian Sanders, Jalen Coker, all these guys in our head for Andy Dalton being over there versus Bryce Young?
I think that we should upgrade Ted McMillan, yes. I think that Xavier Legette, good for the best ball bags, and then we're going to move forward. We're not going to pretend like Xavier Legette having a good game in week 7 is predictive of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see on Jalen Coker.
Yeah.
He needs to carve out an every down role first. And Xavier Legette having a good game prevents, that
Right.
lowers the probability of that happening. So I am higher on Ted McMillan, though, now with Andy Dalton under center.
Agreed. And yeah, Jalen Coker returned here for 17 routes. Ted McMillan ran 34, Xavier Legette 33. So as Evan said, Jalen Coker well behind Legette for now. And after the game that Legette had, probably not going to change. Story 5 comes from the New York Jets. Home game against those Carolina Panthers, and Justin Fields has 46 passing yards and 22 rushing yards at halftime. They bench him and go to Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor can muster just 3.5 points as well as the Jets fall to 0-7. As someone who was pretty high on Justin Fields coming into this, I just can't believe that they are asking him to throw and not to run more. The game plan in this game without Garrett Wilson undoubtedly should have been how many times can Justin Fields run with the football? And they are not doing designed runs at all. If you're not going to do that, if you're going to say, hey, let's drop back and try to throw, and you don't even have Garrett Wilson, what do the Jets think is going to happen? All that said, Justin Fields clearly really, really bad at throwing the football right now. They had to bench him. Evan, what do you think of the decision to go to Tyrod Taylor, and who would you start going forward if you were the Jets?
I mean, with Justin Fields, it's just he can be really, really good in fantasy. I mean, he has 3 big-time weeks this year, but he's not a good quarterback in real life. I don't think he's as bad as he's shown this season. I don't think that he's been set up to succeed, at all. He's a running quarterback who can throw the ball downfield. He has 2 strengths and then a boatload of weaknesses, but he has 2 things that he can do well, and neither of those things have been featured by the Jets. The Jets are the worst coached team in the NFL again. Yeah. They do dumb things with play calling. They're not doing good things strategically. They're friggin' 0-7. So they're paying the piper on that. I mean, they're terrible on defense. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know that it matters who they start at quarterback. I mean, Tyrod Taylor, I'd like to see Brady Cook. Went to my high school, by the way. He's on the practice squad. I'd like to see him get some. I think he will get some reps by the end of the season, actually, the way that this thing is going.
They play the Bengals this week. So whoever starts at quarterback, it's going to be tough to keep their projection in check when you put their rushing matched up with their matchup. But you see the floor with this team. They can just systemically fail. And that's kind of what happened here in this game. They have not yet announced a starter. Have the Jets are recording this Tuesday, midday. And they have not yet announced a starter between Tyrod and Justin Fields. Other note, Breece Hall did get banged up here. He left the game it was a hip drop tackle in traffic, and his leg/ankle got rolled onto. Isaiah Davis comes in. Remember, Braylon Allen ended up having surgery. He's out months, maybe the season. Isaiah Davis came in. Isaiah Davis, 2024 round 5 pick out of South Dakota State. I think Breece is going to be okay to play this week, but it's at least worth watching on the Isaiah Davis stuff. Regardless, though, they need Garrett Wilson back so badly. He's probably not going to be back, though, until after their week 9 bye. Remember, the NBA season starts tonight, Tuesday night. We cover it with the same virginity we cover the NFL. Dink, Gallagher, and the team have 3 products that run during NBA season. First, the in-season product. This is aimed at people playing DFS projections, shows, top plays, ownership, etc. Second, full stat detail. Access to what we project for every category, every player, every game. That's aimed at people looking to bet their own props, post on exchanges, using their own sims or models, whatever you want to do with it. And lastly, the official prop sub. Please read the FAQ on this. It is not for casual betting. Official release lines will move very quickly. Check out more details at establishtherun.com. All right, let's go to the NFC now. We'll go in alphabetical order. Start with the Arizona Cardinals. This was another Cardinals game, Evan, where Jacoby Brissett brought life to the offense. And I know they're going to go back to Kyler Murray when he's ready. I know that'll probably be right after the Week 8 bye. But man, it's hard now after these two games to think that this team is not better off with Jacoby Brissett over Kyler Murray. Evan, what do you think of Brissett here? And any other Cardinals thoughts?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting decision for the Cardinals. Yeah, you mentioned they're on bye, right?
Yep.
That's going to be an interesting decision. I don't know what they're going to do. There's no question that Jacoby Brissett can execute the passing offense better than Kyler Murray, but the Cardinals are 2-5, and their point differential is like only -1 or -2 or something. I mean, they're really not like a 2-5 team, but they need to like flip variance in their favor. Who gives them a better chance of flipping variance? Probably Kyler Murray, but Jacoby Brissett has. And if you bench Kyler Murray for Jacoby Brissett, like it is Jover for Kyler Murray in Arizona. And if it doesn't work, it's probably over for Jonathan Gannon. You know what I mean? So this is a very momentous decision that the Cardinals have on their hands during the bye week. I don't know what I'd do. I think I'd probably go back to Kyler Murray. Maybe I'm being a coward, but
yeah, I think they have to. What they want to do or not, you gave Kyler Murray 5 years, $230 million.
I agree. I think that they're ultimately going to go back to Kyler Murray, which kind of sucks for us because this has been a lot of fun. Dude, Jacoby Brissett made some insane throws against Green Bay, and that's while he was under immense duress. Micah Parsons had maybe the best game by any defensive player all season. I mean, he was just a havoc wrecker all freaking game. What did he finish with? 5 hits, 3 sacks, 4 TFLs. I mean, and a bunch of great run stops too. The Cardinals, I mean, running the ball, I mean, they did not have success. Michael Carter was just buried every single time he touched the ball. But Jacoby Brissett, like even to like Zay Jones down the right sideline and some throws to Marvin Harrison, targeting the crap out of Trey McBride in scoring position. I mean, Trey McBride, it felt like every time that they were in scoring position, the ball was going to Trey McBride. He only scored 2 touchdowns. He could have had 4, I think, easily. 10 catches. I mean, it's been fun with Jacoby Brissett under center. I tend to agree with you that I think they're going to go back to Kyler Murray.
I mean, they basically said they're going to go back to him, and I don't think they really have a choice for the reasons that you said. I mean, they can't just 2-5 go to Brissett. It's really unlikely they make the playoffs anyways, and then you torpedo your relationship with your franchise quarterback to go to Jacoby Brissett at 2-5 wouldn't make much sense. But man, it sucks for the Trey McBride stuff. I mean, in 2 games with Brissett, McBride has gone 8-72-1 and then 10 catches and 2 touchdowns in this past game. In 2 games with Troy Brissett, McBride has 3 touchdowns. In 54 other games of his career, McBride has 7 touchdowns. I mean, just crazy that Brissett is able to unlock McBride in the red zone like Kyler has been unable to. I haven't mentioned the running back stuff. I mean, clearly to me, Bam Knight is better. I mean, Bam Knight was the feature back ahead of Michael Carter here, led 18-9 in opportunities. It's been trending that way. I think they prefer Bam Knight, and it's probably going to be at least another 3 weeks on Trey Benson here. So a lot of questions for the Cardinals as they head into their bye. Falcons. This was the Sunday night game. Falcons go to San Francisco and lose 20-10. Michael Penix, it was ugly, and then he also picked up a bone bruise on his foot. They're calling him day to day. Notable to me was a decent Darnell Mooney game. He returns from the hamstring issue, is almost an every down player along with Drake London. Falcons did use a lot more 2 tight end than usual with Ray McLeod inactive here. But yeah, any thoughts on Falcons' performance in San Francisco on Sunday night, Evan?
I didn't have a ton of thought. My biggest notes were actually about their defense, about the Falcons' defense, which I think is turning into a run funnel defense. And George Kittle actually talked about that specifically, like San Francisco specifically game plan to attack Atlanta's run defense. But I'll talk about that in matchups when we get to that. I thought that Kyle Pitts looked really good. Bijan continues to crush in the passing game. He did not have a good rushing game here, but he's been fantastic as a receiving back. And yeah, I mean, I didn't have a ton of notes otherwise on Atlanta. Only scored 10 points, didn't do a lot in the box score.
Yeah, Bijan is on pace now for 85 catches and 1,105 receiving yards, 5.7 receiving touchdowns. He is not just like catching little dump offs. Again, he's gonna on pace for 1,100 receiving yards on 85 catches. Just an insane role right now for Bijan Robinson. I think Michael Penix is going to be okay, but worth noting that Kirk Cousins remains the backup there. NFL trade deadline is November 4th, and there really haven't been many rumors about Kirk Cousins as of now. So he remains the backup there to Penix, but I think Penix is going to end up being okay here with that bone bruise. Bears win again, beat the Saints at home to move to 4-2. The story again, Evan, was the run game. I mean, we talked last week about how it looked like they found something with their run game in week 6. And then in week 7, DeAndre Swift goes for 124 yards and a touchdown, 19 carries. And Kyle Monangai, 81 rushing yards and a touchdown on 13 carries. They finished with 40 runs against 27 Caleb Williams dropbacks in this game. What do you think of Bears' win over the Saints?
Yeah, they have found something in their running game. The Saints had been playing pretty good run defense up until this point. The Saints were kind of like a pass funnel, actually, up until this point, and the Bears kind of just ran all over them. I think that this is a case of Ben Johnson understanding where his strengths are right now. And if you look at the complexion of their offensive line, Darnell Wright, who can block out the sun as a run blocker on the right side, and Theo Benedette, who really struggles in pass protection, but can be a really efficient run blocker. Like he got eaten up by Chase Young in this game as a pass protector, but he can run block. And the interior is very good at run blocking too. Drew Dahlman is a better run blocker than pass blocker at center. And Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson has really, I mean, they have a run blocking, that's their strength on offense right now. And Caleb Williams is still a beat late. He has talked about how he's kind of been struggling to throw the ball on the run, which has always been one of his strengths. And he has not been accurate too. You listen to like Kurt Warner breaking him down and some of the quarterback gurus who actually played in the NFL, and they talk about how his accuracy has been an issue.
And big time. He's sorry to cut you off. He's dead last in the NFL in completion percentage over expected. So like really inaccurate. Yeah.
So I don't want to say that I'm super worried about Caleb Williams right now, but he is not the strength of the team. Like their running game is the strength of the team. And so I think that they will continue to lean on that going forward. Also, they have 2 tight ends that they can play, although Cole Kmet got hurt in this game.
Yeah. I'll get to that in a second. I wanted to ask you about Kyle Monangai because a lot of waiver wire people are falling all over themselves right now to go get Kyle Monangai. It's a great sign he was ahead of Roshan. I'm just not sure how many times they're actually going to get 40 running back carries off in a game. And when you get fewer carries, I think it'll lean more towards DeAndre Swift. But I'm open to being wrong. How much do you think Kyle Monangai takes from DeAndre Swift here going forward?
Yeah, I think that was specific to that game. Kyle Monangai runs hard. I mean, he's not particularly athletic. He's not particularly versatile. I think that that was specific to this game. The Bears were in control. The Bears are winning games not because of their passing game, because of their running game in part, but also because they lead the NFL in takeaways on defense, and they had a bunch more takeaways in this game. I think they had 4. Yeah, they had 4 takeaways in this game. So the Bears had the ball a lot. They were playing with a lead. That allowed Kyle Monangai to be involved more than usual. I think ultimately, he's a handcuff. He's not a guy that you're going to be able to, you're not going to want to play even against, I know the Ravens defense has struggled this year, mainly due to injuries, but you're not going to want to play Kyle Monangai in week 8 against the Ravens in Baltimore.
Now, I definitely think he should be rostered as a 1 injury away guy, but I would not want to start him here either.
That's exactly what he is.
Evan mentioned the Cole Kmet injury. So Cole Kmet left after just 6 routes due to a back injury. Colston Loveland got to run 17 routes. This is a spot to watch, right? Just because if Cole Kmet were to be out, they would have no choice but to let Colston Loveland run almost every route. tracking the Luther Burden stuff, only 9 routes on 27 dropbacks in this game for Luther Burden. Alameda Zacchaeus got 16 routes. DJ Moore and Roma Dunze 25 and 27. So they have not shown any interest in really elevating Luther Burden's role here as they came out of their bye the last 2 weeks. Let's go to the Cowboys. It was the return of CeeDee Lamb, and the Cowboys put 44 points on the Commanders. Great day overall in Jerry World for the Cowboys. I thought CeeDee Lamb looked really healthy. Like, it was a bit fluky, that 74-yard touchdown. 2 Commanders defenders like bumped into each other. But Lamb is just insane. First game back, 8 targets for a 27% share, ran 33 routes on 33 Dak Prescott dropbacks. So right into the mix for CeeDee Lamb. Evan, what do you think of his return? Any other Cowboys thoughts?
Just all positivity. And when you have an offense that is hyper efficient, that's running a ton of play action, that's throwing the ball on first down, that's using pre-snap motion, that has to compensate for a bad defense, that plays indoors, and the ball goes to like 4 guys, and that's it. I mean, this is fantasy dream. This is what fantasy wet dreams are made of.
The Coors Field of NFL DFS is back, and it's in Dallas.
Yes, sir. And Dak Prescott continues to play at an MVP level. Javonte Williams got back on track against Washington. Washington's run defense is getting carved right now, by the way. Jaden Blue got some good work in this game. He had 8 touches. He should be rostered everywhere as a 1 injury away guy. CeeDee Lamb pops right back in. George Pickens was fine, 4 for 82 on 6 targets. Jake Ferguson, 7 catches and 2 touchdowns. I mean, this is nice. This is exactly the way that we envisioned, and this is why we were so high on all these Cowboys, dude, except for Javonte Williams. I know, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'll get to Javonte in a second. The George Pickens stuff, like if CD was out for this game, George Pickens would have had like 200 yards. They had no answer whatsoever for George Pickens. Unfortunately, with CeeDee Lamb in there, unfortunately for Pickens owners, it's not going to be as good. He's not going to be this like dominant alpha in targets. He just can't with CeeDee earning so many. But obviously, I still love having George Pickens on my team. By the way, on the defensive front, Schefter went on some show this morning and said he thinks that there is a good chance Dallas tries to add defensive help at the deadline here. Like use some of that Micah Parsons money to add defensive help.
The rumor is Max Crosby.
Yeah, that would be super.
Which, by the way, the Raiders should trade everyone, and we will get to the Raiders, but the Raiders should literally trade everyone. We'll get to that.
Yeah. They play the Broncos at Broncos next. So a much tougher spot for Javonte Williams. Certainly a revenge game for Javonte Williams, but man, he's playing well. 2nd in rush yards after contact per attempt, 7th in rushing EPA among all running backs, 2nd in rushing yards over expectation per attempt. Just great season. It's going to be tough here at Denver in week 8, but looking forward to that game for sure. Lions just dominated this game against the Bucs. I know the score was only 24-9, but Lions were at 5.8 yards per play. Bucs were at 3.8 yards per play, and they did it with an explosive, and I mean explosive, Jahmyr Gibbs performance here in this game. Gibbs is now up to fantasy's running back 5 in points per game, behind only McCaffrey, JT, Bijan, and Jacobs. Evan, what do you think of Lions game last night?
Yeah, they were very efficient on offense. Jahmyr Gibbs with a 78-yard touchdown sprint. I mean, I think he hit like 22 miles per hour on the gun, and he that was like the fastest time by a ball carrier since in 3 years or something like that. And he looks like Jamal Charles out there. He looks exactly like Jamal Charles. And Dave Montgomery kind of looks like Thomas Jones a little bit, late career Thomas Jones. Amon-Ra came out cooking in this game. I mean, he had like 3 catches for 67 and a touchdown in the first like 2 possessions. He only finished with 6 for 86 and a touchdown, but he was dominant in his opportunities. And then the Bucs never really forced the Lions to go out of their way to play aggressively, and Jameson Williams was like blocking the entire game. I don't even know if he caught a pass.
He did not.
Catch a pass. 2 targets and no receptions.
Jameson Williams ran 33 routes on 34 Jared Goff dropbacks and saw 2 targets and didn't catch either one. And like, it's kind of becoming a recurring theme. And after all the offseason hype, they love him. They can't wait. They can't wait. They're going to feature him. Jameson Williams has seen less targets this year. His target share is down to 14.7% this year as Jameson Williams. It was at 16.5 last year. And their easier targets aren't there either. 26.7% of Jameson Williams' targets are 20-plus air yards. Last year, that was only 13%. So he's seeing fewer targets, and he's seeing them deeper down the field. And in games like this, he's just running clear-out routes for Amon-Ra. So people want to, drop Jameson Williams. I would never drop Jameson Williams. I get that people are frustrated. Do you think this is going to turn around? You mentioned earlier the Worthy versus J-Mo comparison. Any thoughts on J-Mo turning this around?
I mean, the previous week he led the team in receiving. He had six catches and he scored a touchdown. I mean, he was the 12th pick in the draft. He had insane college tape. He had 1,000 yards last year. This new offensive coordinator comes in, overflowing with praise in John Morton for Jameson Williams. They give him an $83 million extension. So I don't think that this was a foreseeable outcome. But the fact of the matter is that as of week 8, Jameson Williams is like the Lions' number 5 option on offense to get the ball to consistently. They do have a bye coming up, so maybe they could draw up some more stuff to get the rock in his hands in the second half of the season. I'm sure, he's only got 2 good games through 7. I'm sure that he'll have more good games than that in the second half of the season. But he's just a guy you park on your bench for now. Certainly you're parking him on your bench during the bye week. And if you see him get dropped, I think he's too talented to be on any waiver wires.
Yep. Last thing on the Lions for me, I was a little disappointed that they continue to not get anything from Isaac Tesla. Khalif Raymond played in this game, got 17 routes. Tesla just 6 routes in this game.
That's another thing. I thought that Isaac Tesla.
Yep.
Isaac Tesla, that he could be the clear out runner.
Yeah.
Bringing up more for Jameson Williams, but it just has not played out that way. But here we are.
Let's go to the Green Bay Packers. Packers escape with a win over the Cardinals. Mentioned that huge Micah Parsons fourth quarter. Not great for the Nick Bonito Defensive Player of the Year bags as Micah Parsons goes nuts and is now the favorite to be Defensive Player of the Year in the markets. But Josh Jacobs came into this game with a calf issue. Said he wasn't 100%. Clearly did not look 100%. They actually limited his workload. But Josh Jacobs is just like a touchdown monster. Another game with 2 touchdowns here from close in. Evan, what do you think of Packers' performance against the Cardinals?
Yeah, the Cardinals had a sizable lead in the first half. So I kept thinking that, maybe this will be a game where we really see the Packers kind of lean into their passing game in the second half to come back. That's not how they really did this. Jordan Love missed some throws, man. I mean, he was a little disappointing. He missed like a sure touchdown to Romeo Doubs. Tucker Kraft remains a beast and a guy that you can rely on every single week. He had 10 targets on 29 attempts. That's a massive target share for a tight end, almost 30% target share. And then Matthew Golden continues to be a guy who just sees 3, 4, 5 targets per game. And you can't really use him in fantasy when he's locked into that low volume.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, like in today's NFL, it just scares me. These guys whose calling card is just going deep and coaches see it that way. Worthy, Jameson, Golden, the guys that are winning in today's NFL are the guys that run these short area routes like Rashee Rice and Amon-Ra and CeeDee Lamb. And, that's just the way it is. And those guys, and the guys like Golden certainly scare me. Dobbs and Golden ran 28 and 27 routes. Dontavian Wicks only ran 9, got banged up a little bit. Some big separation there. Like Dobbs and Golden are clearly the 2 guys right now. Again, watching the Christian Watson rehab seems like he is getting closer. The other thing we found out in this game is that Emmanuel Wilson is the direct backup to Josh Jacobs. Like if Josh Jacobs were to miss a game, we'd see some Chris Brooks, especially on pass downs. But I think Emmanuel Wilson is the one injury away guy there for the Packers. Let's go to the Rams. This was the London game, and the Rams absolutely throttled the Jaguars, even without Puka Nacua. Puka is expected back after the Rams Week 8 bye, but just in case he's ever out again, I mean, predictably, Devontae Adams, 24% target share, 3 touchdowns. And we also saw a lot of tight end stuff. I mean, Parkinson, Ferguson, Higbee were all in the mix. A little bit disappointing from Whittington, Tutu Atwell, etc. here. But again, that's all going to be moot for now, at least, because I do think Puka Nacua will be back after the bye. Evan, what do you think of Rams' performance against the Jaguars?
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty nicely. Stafford, 5 touchdowns and only 182 yards. As you mentioned, they played 13 personnel, which is 3 tight ends at like the highest clip ever recorded in the next gen stats era, maybe since like the 1950s. They actually have 4 tight ends that they could play too. They also have Davis Allen in addition to Colby Parkinson, Terrence Ferguson, who scored his first career touchdown, who's looked good on his opportunities but hasn't gotten many, and then Tyler Higbee, of course. But yeah, I mean that's where we are now. They go on a bye.
Yeah. Devontae Adams, even when Puka is out there, Devontae Adams has been the red zone target for Matthew Stafford. Devontae Adams now has 11 targets inside the 10-yard line. No one else in the NFL has more than 7. So really nice role for Devontae Adams. Other note for me on the Rams was Blake Corum seemingly out of the doghouse. A lot of this was garbage time stuff, but not all of it. He was in there with the starters still for a lot of the game, and Blake Corum got 12 carries in this game. Obviously, their guy is Kyren. In high leverage situations, it's going to be Kyren. But good to see Blake Corum at least not stuck in the doghouse there.
I was disappointed in Jordan Whittington.
Yeah.
I thought that he would have a much better game, could jump right in that Puka role, not producing at Puka's level, but being a guy that who could, execute 60% of that, and he really didn't do anything. Somebody asked me, who is Mumpfield? And I thought it was a autocorrect. And no, there's a guy named Konata Mumpfield on the Rams who scored a touchdown in this game. But yeah, Jordan Whittington was disappointing.
For sure. Yeah, it's not great for Jordan Whittington's like dynasty case that even when Puka has been out, he has not been that productive. Let's go to Minnesota Vikings. Another start for Carson Wentz here. Vikings had their chances to beat the Eagles, man, but in the end, defense could not get off the field. Vikings lose 28-22. Couple notable stories from the Vikings. First one is the JJ McCarthy stuff. So they come out of the bye. People are like, oh, maybe he could have played. Maybe he's still hurt. Maybe the Vikings just thought Wentz gave them a better chance to win, which is scary for JJ McCarthy. Carson Wentz has his shoulder issue. We'll see. I think it's going to be Wentz again on Thursday night, but I have no idea if it's going to be Wentz, if it's going to be JJ McCarthy, or then they have this dude, Max Brosmer, if neither of them can go. So it's messy right now. Evan, what do you think of Wentz's latest game and any more Vikings thoughts?
Well, he made some just major gaffes that really worked against the Vikings in this game, but the Vikings moved the ball up and down the field all game against Philadelphia. Jordan Addison, who was my pull-up player of the week, he balled out 9 for 128. The Vikings, they the Eagles. I'm sorry, the Vikings. They wound up settling for. I want to make sure this is right. I think it was 5 field goals. Yeah, so they were in scoring position quite a bit. Their center, Blake Brendel, got destroyed by Jalen Carter, who almost didn't play in this game, but did, and boy, did he play, and Jordan Davis. Those guys are scary in the middle,
yeah,
and they just gave an, belt to bottom with Blake Brendel, and that was kind of the story of the game. Also, I mean, the story of the game on the Eagles side, and we'll get to them, was Jalen Hurts balling out, his best game of the season. But gaffes by Carson Wentz, even though the Vikings moved the ball almost at will against the Eagles defense, and Blake Brendel just getting stomped in the interior of the Vikings offensive line.
Yeah, the discount that we got on Jordan Addison during drafting season because he was suspended for the first 3 games was just like a gift. And that's just a reminder for next year or anytime going forward. Those first 3 weeks are so easy to navigate. It's like meaningless. I would have taken Jordan Addison a couple rounds higher. He out-targeted Justin Jefferson here, 29% share, played a great game. And Jordan Addison is just like good at football. Other Viking story to watch, I have not heard a peep on Aaron Jones. I'm hopeful that he's back, but I honestly don't know. I was looking for information. I know Evan has been also, and
can't find anything.
Can't find anything on Aaron Jones. So
I can't find anything, and he's an older back, and he has a history of hamstring injuries, and so this is, I don't know. We'll see if they say anything on Wednesday.
Let's go to the New Orleans Saints. So Saints went to Chicago, and this was the first time I thought it like really unraveled this season for Spencer Rattler. Yeah, it's been bad, but it hasn't really unraveled. He looked bad in terms of ball security, looked frantic, 3 interceptions for Spencer Rattler, took 4 sacks, and lost a fumble. So maybe at some point, more games like this, they're like, maybe we'll get a look at Tyler Shuck. You spent the 40th overall pick on Tyler Shuck. Like, let me see the kid play, you know? And I get that Rattler's been okay, but I'd like to see at least him play. Maybe he's been so bad in practice they don't feel like it. But yeah, Evan, any thoughts on Rattler meltdown and the Saints' performance in Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, the Bears have been forcing takeaways, so I guess some credit goes to them. But yeah, I mean, the Saints, they were kind of lifeless in this game. The people that cover the team in Chicago, they think that the Saints, like, they look like a team that's ready to give up. Tyler Shuck, you know, Underhill said that Tyler Shuck was just buns in training camp.
Yeah.
And now Kendra Miller tore his ACL. I think that his work will go to Devin Neal, who's, you know, worth a speculative pickup, I think, at least in deep season-long leagues, because Alvin Kamara is not at the stage of his career anymore where he can handle a full workload.
Eric McCoy also looks like he's going to be out for the season with a biceps injury.
One of the best centers in the league.
One of the best centers in the league. Not great for the Saints. A couple other quick notes on the Saints here. Yeah, Devin Neal only got 1 carry to Kamara's 11, but in games where they have more running back carries, I think we'll see more Devin Neal. Olave was so good. You know, back-to-back games now with 98 yards. Olave is now on pace to catch 107 balls and get targeted 172 times. I mean, the way that Kellen Moore is running this offense is just so good for Chris Olave. So love that we were high on him before the season. Looks like a big hit there. Only 9 snaps in this game for Taysom Hill and only 13 snaps for Foster Moreau. So the Juwan Johnson usage is at least hanging in there for now. Taysom and Moreau not playing very much at all. Let's go to the Giants. I can't believe the Giants lost this game. I mean, one of the wildest things you'll ever see. The Broncos had 0 points through 3 quarters, and then the Giants give up 33 points in the 4th quarter to devastate the Brian Dable, Jackson Dart bromance and ruin what should have been a great win for the Giants. I mean, Jackson Dart, like, wasn't always pretty, but he goes to Denver, one of the NFL's best defenses for sure, throws for 282 yards and 3 touchdowns, runs for another touchdown. That's without Malik Neighbors, without Slayton. So, man, I thought it was pretty impressive from Jackson Dart, regardless of what you thought of the box score. Evan, rough loss here for the Giants. What do you think of their game?
Yeah, Jackson Dart, I mean, he's really fun to watch. He's got, like, legit moxie. He's a legit dual threat. He also, like, makes spectacular plays, and I think he catches the positive end of variance, I think, on a lot of plays. And, you know, we'll see if that starts to revert back toward the mean. But, yeah, I mean, he deserves credit for putting up as many points as they did through 3 quarters. The Broncos, as you mentioned, comebacks score 33 points. That's only happened, I think, twice in NFL history that a team scored 33 or more in a single quarter. And the Broncos did that here in the 4th quarter to come back and win. Just probably the wildest game of the season.
I mean, and Dart's throwing it to Wan'Dale Robinson and Theo Johnson, you know? So, like, go to Denver, one of the best defenses in the league. You're throwing to Wan'Dale, and I was just impressed. Cam Skattebo outsnapped Tyrone Tracy in this game 46-28. Opportunities were Skattebo 22, Tracy 9. But most importantly, you know, it's Skattebo around the goal line. Tyrone Tracy's touchdown came from 31 yards out on a nice run, but Skattebo is going to be the guy to use at the goal line. Clearly, Jackson Dart likes throwing it to him also. Eagles snapped their 2-game losing streak with a win at Minnesota, and they do it on the back of Jalen Hurts' arm, not his legs, his arm. I mean, offensive line could not create any room for Saquon Barkley once again. And so Jalen Hurts goes 19 of 23 for 326 yards, 3 touchdowns against a very good pass defense. And this is what we've talked about before. When they ask Jalen Hurts to do it, more often than not, he can do it. It's just a bad question of him being asked to do so. He was asked to do so in this game. Evan, what do you think of Eagles' win in Minnesota?
I think for the first time this year, the Eagles did a pretty good coaching job. I wrote about in matchups that to really have optimism about Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown, you needed the Eagles, Kevin Patullo, and Nick Sirianni to do something to make a change. And they had a couple extra days because they had the mini bye between the Week 7 game and this game. And they did make a change, and that was having Jalen Hurts line up under center for almost half of his snaps, and they ran play action, and they only threw the ball 4 times off play action, but they hit all 4 for a ton of big plays. And A.J. Brown got one. God almighty, someone's calling me. Sorry. And A.J. Brown scored a long touchdown on a 4th down play early in the game. And Devontae Smith, oh my God, Devontae Smith, 8 in this game. Yeah, 9 for 183 and a touchdown. He had a 79-yard touchdown off play action. The passing game cooked. And I think that Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni, who I've been hard on, I think that you have been as well. I think that they deserve credit. They outcoached the Vikings.
Okay. Do you think that they are like so frustrated with the run game that they're going to start throwing more? I mean, they've been leaning into the pass a decent amount lately. Saquon has had nowhere to run. Eagles are now 23rd in yards before contact per rush attempt here. 18 carries, 44 yards for Saquon. The Saquon people, and I liked Saquon before the year. Evan was lower on him than I was. It's starting to get a bit worrisome. How worried are you about Eagles' run game right now? Because Mailata played in this game. Lane Johnson played in this game. Landon Dickerson played in this game. They still couldn't generate any lanes for Saquon. So, yeah, how worried are you about Saquon right now?
I mean, worried about him. I mean, I think he's like, if we were to draft again today, he'd be like a late 2nd round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, the workload has been there. The usage has been there. He's creating no explosive plays. They're not using him enough in the passing game. I thought that they should throw like 3 or 4 screens to him in this game. He had 1 catch for -2 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a volume-based fantasy starter right now, and obviously that's not what people drafted in the top 5. That's just the fact of the matter, and I don't foresee that changing. I don't really have any room for actual tangible reasons for optimism that this is all of a sudden going to flip.
Right. I mean, I feel like the offensive line play should get better if these guys can sustain health, and I think that would help a lot. To me, that's like the light at the end of the tunnel for Saquon as they just start road grading people again in the run game with their offensive line. But yeah, it's not what they're doing right now. Last note on the Eagles, A.J. Dillon was inactive for this game. Tank Bigsby was the early down backup. And yes, so that, well, you know what that means. After I complained about this last week, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, they were listening to the show and they decided to make Tank Bigsby the backup ahead of A.J. Dillon. So thanks for listening there, guys. 49ers. The injury-riddled 49ers moved to 5-2 with a win over the Falcons on Sunday night. It was clear, just like give the ball to Christian McCaffrey and win the game. 24, 129, 2 rushing for McCaffrey and 7 catches for 72 yards. Kyle Shanahan continues to make his coach of the year case right behind Shane Steichen. Evan, what do you think of 49ers win over the Falcons on Sunday night?
Nice win. Christian McCaffrey is 3rd in the NFL, regardless of position, in receptions, and 6th in the NFL in receiving yards. So the primary beneficiary of all these injuries to San Francisco pass catchers has been Christian McCaffrey. And Christian McCaffrey was efficient as a runner in this game, which undoubtedly should not be surprising with the return of George Kittle. I mean, the on and off splits, not just in this game, but like historically for the 49ers running game are a hugely positive when George Kittle is on the field. George Kittle did nothing in the passing game. Yeah, he had 2 targets and no catches, but made an impact in the game as a blocker. And again, as I mentioned before, in the when we were talking about Atlanta, in this game specifically, the 49ers looked at the Falcons. They're like, we're going to run the ball down their throats, even though the 49ers to that point hadn't run the ball down anybody's throats. So I think that could evolve into a trend, the way to attack the Falcons defense, which as of last week was the number one rated defense in the NFL based on yards allowed.
Mm-hmm. George Kittle was not eased in here. He ran 24 routes on 28 Mac Jones dropbacks. George Kittle played 54 of 66 snaps. He just was not part of the passing game at all. 0 catches on 2 targets. We've seen this before with Kittle. Like I love Kittle's upside. He has plenty of games where he just does not see any volume whatsoever. I did think that Jawan Jennings looked much healthier here, and he's obviously struggled with injuries all seasons. Thought he looked healthier. We'll see on Ricky Pearsall if he is able to go soon. He's missed 2 straight weeks with that knee injury. But man, speaking of injuries, it's crazy how many people tried to victory lap the Christian McCaffrey. I can predict injuries. He's going to get hurt. I mean, those people were going nuts when Christian McCaffrey had the calf thing ahead of week 1. McCaffrey's played 84% of the 49ers snaps this year. He's averaging 26.6 touches per game, and he's looked like as fresh as ever. So, man, McCaffrey is just so insane once again. Seahawks took care of business on Monday night, beat the Texans at home behind yet another unstoppable Jackson Smith-Njigba performance. This time, 123 yards and a touchdown on 8 catches, 14 more targets. I mean, not even Derek Stingley can stop this duo, Darnold to JSN at this point. Evan, what do you think of Seahawks game last night against the Texans?
Yeah, and it's just so impressive because everybody on the field knows where the ball is going to go.
Yeah.
And it keeps going to JSN with success. I would like to see, his yards per route run. I haven't seen it updated into this week now, but obviously as of last week, it was above 4. I would like to see if you could find the games, Jerry Rice in his prime, what his yards per route run would have been. Because that was during an era, and the Seahawks are by no means like a pass first team. They throw the ball downfield very aggressively, but they're not going to lead the league in any pass attempts or even finish top 10. We know the yards on Jerry, and the 49ers didn't throw the ball at an extreme volume either during Jerry Rice's prime years. That's just not the way that you played in the NFL back in the day, but obviously they were hyper efficient. I would like to see, because we have the yards on Jerry Rice. All we need is to know is how many routes he ran. Mm-hmm. I'm sure at NFL Films they got they got the tape. I don't even think you would need the all 22 tape. You could just have the TV copy and just see it. Oh, he ran around on that play. I would like to see Jerry Rice's his prime years, his yards per route run, compare that to Jackson Smith-Njigba, because I think that JSN would be right there with him.
Oh, he's having one of the best wide receiver seasons.
Is he the best wide receiver in the NFL?
I would probably still take Jamar Chase, but
I would too after Thursday night. But I mean, JSN has an argument at least.
Yeah, and Justin Jefferson, I think still in the mix. But yeah, JSN certainly has an argument. I'm actually sad they're going on a bye because they're so hot right now. I don't want this to kill their momentum, but they are on a bye in week 8. The running back stuff, went kind of as expected. Kenneth Walker did get 5 more carries than Zach Charbonnet, but they prefer Zach Charbonnet around the goal line. He got 2 short ones, including one where they pushed him in. I mean, it looked like he got stacked up, and the whole team pushed Zach Charbonnet into the end zone there for a touchdown.
Charbonnet, it's different from the Carolina situation. It's different from other split backfields because there are just specific roles that, whenever they're on the field or in this sort of situation, it's going to be Charbonnet. Whenever they're in this sort of situation, it's going to be Kenneth Walker. And that's going to really damage, because Charbonnet gets all the stuff in scoring position. I mean, what's Kenneth Walker's touchdown probability on a weekly basis? It's lower than a guy that, any other guy in the league who's getting, 15 to 18 touches per game, which is what Kenneth Walker is largely getting. But his probability of scoring touchdowns is so much lower by the fact that Charbonnet gets all the work when they're in scoring position.
Let's go to the Washington football team, last NFC team here. Commanders went to Dallas without Terry McLaurin, without Deebo Samuel, without Noah Brown, without Austin Eckler. Lose to Dallas 44-22. Big story was the Jaden Daniels injury. I was scared at first. It looked to me like he grabbed the back of his knee when he went down, but turned out it was just a hamstring injury, and it is not considered overly serious. So they're calling Jaden Daniels day-to-day right now ahead of week 8 still. when we rely on rushing production from our quarterback. And we saw this last year. Jaden played through some injuries and did not run. They were not calling design runs for him. It's scary for me, at least. Evan, what do you think of Commanders game down there in Jerry World?
Yeah, pretty disappointing considering the opponent, but also not surprising considering how much attrition Washington has had to deal with, particularly, I mean, at quarterback and at pass catcher, And I thought I had a nice little, did the ancestry.com thing with the McCaffrey family leading into last Sunday morning. I was proud of myself for that rant. And the result was 2 targets for Luke McCaffrey, 0 catches. Nobody really did anything except for Zach Ertz, old reliable. No one did anything in the passing game with the quarterback getting injured, and Jaden Daniels throwing for 156 yards. A disappointing effort, nonetheless, considering the opponent, because everybody has just been running roughshod over the Dallas defense.
I did think for the deep dynasty bros out there, Jalen Lane, I thought played a decent game and made a nice play on a 35-yard completion. As Evan mentioned, Luke McCaffrey was actually 4th in routes behind Chris Moore, Jalen Lane, and Robbie Chosen. Yes, that's formerly Robbie Anderson. Robbie Chosen came in and ran 20-something routes in this game. But, Debo seemed like he was close, so hopefully Debo's back here for their next game. Last note I had on Washington football team, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is in like some version of the Brian Robinson role. And what that means is there's not a ton in the pass game for you. And if you get behind by a lot, you're not going to be out there. And so you need efficiency and touchdowns. And here against Dallas, just 2.3 yards per carry for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So like a lot of these guys in that Brian Robinson type of role, the floor is often lower than it seems. But when they're winning and when he's efficient, JCM's going to have some big games, but it's just scary like it is for a lot of these kind of early down backs when they could be losing. And that's what happened here in Dallas. Let's flip it over to the AFC now. We'll start with the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens were on a bye in week 7. They will come out of it to face the Bears on Sunday. Lamar Jackson is expected back, even though he did not practice Monday. This team is 1-5. If Lamar is actually healthy, I really would not count them out, man. As long as this injury doesn't linger. And honestly, the Ravens guys are some of my favorite buy lows in season long. Zay Flowers. They're going to emerge from this bye. Derrick Henry. They're going to emerge from their bye desperate at 1-5. And with this schedule coming up, Bears, 32nd yards per play allowed. Dolphins, 31st. Vikings, they get to play. Browns, Jets, Bengals, Steelers, Bengals, Patriots, Packers. This schedule for the Ravens, and they're going to be so focused and so desperate. I like buying Zay Flowers. I like buying Derrick Henry. As long as Lamar's hamstring is okay. Evan, any more thoughts on Ravens as they come out of their bye?
Yeah, I've been doing this about 20 years, and I don't think I've ever seen a more timely buy than what the Ravens got here in week 7. I mean, they needed that desperately, and I think they're going to come out on the other end all right. I mean, they've lost some dudes, but Justin Madubuike is irreplaceable on defense. But I think they should come out of this like smoking. Ronnie Stanley back, a bunch of defenders back. Lamar, obviously, he's the straw that stirs the drink, and so much hinges on him. I'm optimistic that he'll be able to play against the Bears, but I don't know, how concerning was that he was not practicing on Monday for you?
Yeah, I thought hopefully it's just like part of the plan, but obviously not ideal. It's going to be tough because we're going to have probably some rushing docs on Lamar if he can't practice fully this week. But I do think he's going to play no matter what. I mean, he has to. They're 1-5. I mean, they don't have a choice. He's got to play in this game. Let's go to the Buffalo Bills. Bills were also on a bye in week 7. They will come out of it to play at Carolina on Sunday. Remember, the Bills had lost 2 straight games before the bye. They lost to the Patriots. They lost to the Falcons. Dalton Kincaid was hurt in that last game, expecting him back. Josh Palmer is considered week to week. Anything else for you on Bills as they come out of their bye here on a 2-game losing streak, Evan?
I would just say that if there is one correctable thing that the Bills had gotten wrong maybe in the first few games, it was that James Cook was like not involved enough in the passing game, and he's a very good receiver. Now, it's part of the plan for the Bills that they use Ty Johnson in passing situations, and they sprinkle in Ray Davis. I mean, nothing has changed, even including last year. But the Bills have been getting a lot of public heat, and I don't even know if public heat always matters, but for not using James Cook enough. I think it's a little bit deserved, though, and I do wonder if they start to get him more involved in the passing game, because especially in this over the Bills' last 2 games, James Cook had 1 target combined. That's something that you can fix during a bye week, and hopefully something that Joe Brady puts more emphasis on. James Cook is a baller. They need to get him the ball in space.
Agreed. Let's go to the Cincinnati Bengals. This was the Thursday night game, just an unreal night for Joe Flacco and the Bengals. This was Flacco's second start with the team. This one home against the Steelers. Flacco goes off for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. They beat the Steelers in a 33-31 win. And this is what we talked about when you have Joe Flacco. He dropped back 49 times. He's not afraid to make risky throws downfield. He has a big arm. He'll throw over the middle. If you drop back 49 times with Joe Flacco and you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you're going to get outcomes like this where he just absolutely goes off. Evan, what do you think of Bengals' performance on Thursday Night Football in a win over the Steelers?
Credit where it's due. Flacco absolutely balled out. And that's a Steelers defense that, we were kind of gunning on them early in the season, and they're definitely slower and older than they've been in a long time. But they had played pretty good defense in their previous 3 games. So that was not necessarily a walkover opponent. I think a lot of credit obviously goes to Jamar Chase. I mean, Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay had no prayer of covering Jamar Chase in man coverage, and the Steelers played a lot of man coverage in that game, and that did not work whatsoever. The Bengals also, I thought they switched out both their starting guards. They switched out Dylan Fairchild and Luke Patrick for Jalen Rivers and Dalton Reisner, and they ran all over the Steelers. I especially like this game because it showed that Chase Brown is not just some bum that we liked because he was playing for the Bengals. Chase Brown is actually good. He's good in the passing game. He at least gets what's blocked as a runner, and he can break tackles. He can make big plays. I mean, he had an awesome game in a spot where it seemed like it was time to give up on Chase Brown. He did have a bad drop for a would-be big gain early on a screen pass, but he bounced back and made a bunch of big plays. I thought that game kind of reinforced that Jamar Chase, despite, problems at the quarterback position, he is the best receiver in the league.
So I did 5 minutes on Chase Brown on the solo pod if you guys want to listen to that. My concern on Chase Brown, he had a great game here. And yeah, he had that drop, but he carried it 11 times for 108 yards. He looked great. My concern is that he was losing a lot of work in this game to Samaje Perine. All the 2-minute stuff, all the hurry up stuff, a lot of third downs, and even a little bit of base in this game. So in the end, it was 48-28 for Chase Brown in snaps. In opportunities, Chase Brown 15, Samaje Perine 7. There was a play, it was 1st and 10 from the 8-yard line, and it was a Perine carry. So that concerned me a little bit, but still, great to see Flacco playing well and great to see Chase Brown showing some life.
And it gives you some hope that, especially they got the Jets coming up.
Yeah.
Chase Brown is going to be a fantasy, a fairly confident fantasy starter now. Whereas, going into the Steelers game, you're like, God, who could I who could I play over this guy? But I think you feel good now playing him against the Jets.
Last Bengals note for me, Noah Fant did run 37 routes on 49 dropbacks here. Mike Gesicki is on IR. Tanner Hudson was out for this game too. So a spot to keep an eye on if you're in some very, very deep stuff that needs tight end help. Browns stomped the Dolphins, man. 31-6 in a wet, windy game in Cleveland. Dylan Gabriel only dropped back 23 times. Defense gets a touchdown. Quinshon Judkins scored 3 times. Evan, what do you think of Browns' performance in the win over the Dolphins?
Yeah, it was a weather-affected game. I think it was not quite as bad as the midweek reports indicated, but, it was still a weather-affected game in a season where we haven't had many of those. Quinshon Judkins, the Dolphins actually kind of did a decent job defending him because he had one run, he had a 46-yard rushing TD, and then other than that, they kind of bottled him up, but he wound up being, a monster in fantasy. I don't think he had anything in the passing game, did he?
No.
He had
No.
No, he had nothing in the passing game. But another 20-plus touch game. He's obviously the workhorse. And, they were never going to throw the ball with volume against Miami anyways. And obviously the game script reinforced that.
Yeah. I love Judkins. Clear they're committed to him, but you see like the downside here, as you saw in week 6. Didn't catch a pass in this game, only 3.4 yards per carry against the Dolphins. If they get behind, and they're going to be behind plenty, are the Browns. We're going to see a lot more Jerome Ford and some Dylan Sampson as well. And so, yeah, obviously scoring 3 touchdowns is great. Obviously, Judkins is awesome. There's definitely still some holes, though, in his profile. David Njoku is considered day-to-day. He missed this game with a knee injury. So Harold Fannin got 20 routes on 23 dropbacks here, led the team in targets with 5. If they had been forced to throw more, Fannin would have had a big game. I mean, he was leading the team in targets, running around on almost every drop back. So still like Fannin if Njoku was going to miss, and Njoku remains a prime trade candidate ahead of that November 4 trade deadline. Let's go to the Broncos. Man, my fellow lifelong Broncos fans since last week, we were ready to kill Bo Nix. I mean, he has been bad for much of this year, has Bo Nix. And through the first 3 quarters of this game against the Giants, he was bad again. But then catches absolute fire. Broncos scored 33 points in the 4th. Bo Nix scored 40 DraftKings points. 40 DraftKings points for Bo Nix in this game. They have a wild win to save the day. What do you think of Broncos' narrow comeback win over the Giants, Evan?
I don't even think that I have anything to add to that. I mean, that was the story.
It's crazy.
I don't have anything to add to that. It was the Bo Nix sucked for 3 quarters, took over in the 4th quarter, won the game.
Yeah.
That's it.
It was a little disappointing to me that in a game they were trailing for so much of, we still hardly got any RJ Harvey. They got 81 snaps off. RJ Harvey played just 19 of them. So I don't really see this changing for RJ Harvey unless there's going to be a Dobbins injury.
RJ Harvey and Travion Henderson are like the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah. Evan Ingram. I know we haven't talked about Evan Ingram much. He was a big fade for us in the preseason, kind of for this exact reason. Like, he needs so much volume to matter. And when you play for Sean Payton, and this goes for wide receivers other than Cortland Sutton, goes for wide receivers and tight ends. When you play for Sean Payton, it's unlikely you get steady volume unless you're like a star, which Evan Ingram clearly isn't. So if you had to drop Evan Ingram or you want to drop him, I think that could have been done a while ago. He's just another one.
They also play like a bunch of tight ends.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Sean Payton does.
Right.
Texans lost in Seattle on Monday night, and in the process, lose Nico Collins to a concussion, which he sustained early in the 4th quarter. Team was already playing without Christian Kirk here, Evan. So we did get a look at some of the young kids. We got to look at Jalen Noel. We got to look at Jaden Higgins. Curious what you thought of them and any other Texans thoughts from last night.
I didn't stay up to watch the end of this game.
Yeah.
Honestly, this was so freaking late. I gotta get some sleep. But I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't know. Do people on the left coast like this? Do you like this?
No. I prefer when the games all start at 5:00 my time, personally.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I'll tell you what. This game ended technically on Tuesday morning, and the Texans play their next game Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. I don't think that Nico Collins, first of all, players who suffer concussions have not been playing the upcoming week. It's very surprising at this point if they don't miss at least one game. I would say, especially on the short week, Nico Collins, I would not count on having him in week 8.
So I was a little disappointed that Braxton Berrios played so much. I thought it was going to be like, listen, Christian Kirk's out. Let's just let Jalen Noel play a ton here. But Berrios played in the slot plenty. Noel was productive late. But a lot of the routes, like if Nico can't play, I think it's going to be a lot of Xavier Hutchinson, Jaden Higgins, Berrios, and Noel. Like some combo of those 4. I hope they give Noel a lot, but I can't say for sure that they are. So we'll work on that projection here this week. Also, Texans were trailing for this whole game. So you got Woody Marks 48 snaps, Nick Chubb just 19. Woody Marks did have a couple flashes. There was an 11-yard run in the middle of the game. It looked like Woody Marks was like shot out of a cannon. But on the 9 other runs, he only gained 4 yards. So not the best outcome here for Woody marks. But again, they were trailing, so he got to play a ton. Breaking news, Evan, out of Minnesota into the show as we're recording this. Vikings announced that Carson Wentz will start on Friday. J.J. McCarthy has been ruled out again. Thursday. J.J. McCarthy has been ruled out again for Thursday night. Wentz will start. And also, Vikings have opened the practice window, 21-day practice window for Aaron Jones. He could play as soon as Thursday. So questionable, at least, on Aaron Jones for Thursday. Let's go to the Indianapolis Colts. Colts continue to impress. Go to LA, and they dominated this game early. I mean, I know Justin Herbert got hot late in catch-up mode, and we already talked about that, but the Colts really controlled this game. They have been so impressive all year. Evan, what do you think of Colts' latest conquest, this time over the Chargers in LA?
Yeah, in terms of scoring, they are one of the most prolific teams, not just of this season, but of all time.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is like not a small sample size anymore. I mean, this is 7 games. And as we talked about, I think it was on the Friday show or the Sunday show, the Colts lead the NFL in play action rate. Daniel Jones going into this week was leading the NFL in yards passing on first down. Those are analytical cheat codes that the Colts are taking advantage of. The Colts also, Chris Ballard, their GM, and their head coach, Shane Steichen, they took quite a bit of heat and also it just takes some balls to set aside a dude who was a top 5 pick in Anthony Richardson, who can't even get through pregame warmups healthy anymore, to go to, a guy who had been discarded in Daniel Jones. But that was absolutely the correct decision. We can say that with full confidence now in hindsight. And it was very polarizing and controversial at the time. And again, took a lot of courage. They deserve huge credit for that. And Shane Steichen, deservedly, it should be the heavy favorite, I think, for NFL Coach of the Year.
Agreed. A couple other notes for me on this game. No Josh Downs here. That makes a huge difference for Michael Pittman. I mean, if you were watching this game, you could just tell when Daniel Jones drops back. So many times it was like, first read, Michael Pittman. He ends up with 9 targets for a 26% share, 7 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. So, yeah, the Pittman stuff is good when Downs is out. Jonathan Taylor role. I mean, I talked about Bijan's role. I talked about CMC's role. This JT role is outrageous. He's on pace to catch 56 balls and run for 24 touchdowns. I mean, all-time usage and year for JT, and it was just obvious, like right out of the gate, that this was going to be a massive JT year.
I'm interested to see, and we're going to start to talk about trades and stuff more because the deadline is November 4th, and we are doing this on October 21st. So next couple of weeks, we'll be talking about that. I think the Colts should be buyers at the trade deadline. Try to get a cornerback. Just make an addition, maybe even another receiver if they feel like they, can't go back to A.D. Mitchell. Like, they got a chance to do some damage. I've seen some power rankings with them at number 1 overall. They're definitely a top 5 team right now, but I think they should be buyers before the deadline.
Yeah, might as well go for it. I mean, they have a cleaner path if they were in the NFC, but still, I mean, it's down year for the Ravens clearly, and yeah, they might as well go for it. Yeah, and I was dead wrong, by the way. I was one of the people that was like, why start Daniel Jones if your ceiling is like 10 wins? I said that, and I was just wrong,
Oh, I'm sorry. I was not trying to call you out
for sure.
at all. You were one of many.
Yeah.
And I totally understand that side of the argument. It's just 7 games in, like they clearly made the right decision.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Jaguars. This was the London game. Jaguars got smashed. And the story was wide receiver. Brian Thomas had 2 more really bad drops in this game. And then he also hurts his shoulder. I haven't seen the severity on that. It did allow Travis Hunter to be a pretty much full-time wide receiver here. And they have bumped up his wide receiver role. Some of that has been because Diami has been banged up. Brenton Strange is out. BTJ got banged up here. But they're clearly trying on Travis Hunter now. 51 of 57 dropbacks. 51 routes on 57 dropbacks. 8 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. So finally, we get the big Travis Hunter offensive game. Evan, any thoughts on Jaguars' performance against the Rams?
Yeah, this is the game where, we're doing a Sunday morning show during this game, which get the NFL out of Europe, please. Please. I mean, never again, all right? It's enough already. But yeah, I mean, I don't. It's just an extremely. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. may be the most disappointing player in the NFL this year. How much did Travis Hunter play on defense
Yeah,
this
he
game?
played about 14 snaps on defense. Last week
Okay.
he played like 20 snaps on defense. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
All right. That sounds. I mean, that's an area where we can exist. We can live in.
yeah, I mean, they need him on offense though at this point, and
Yeah. They
so
need him on
I'd
offense.
love for
Absolutely, they
them.
need him on
Yeah, I'd
offense.
love for them to just be like, forget this defense stuff. It was a great idea, but let's just focus 100% on offense now. And it seems like we're getting closer and closer to that. The Trevor Lawrence panic, though, he took 7 more sacks here. He's now 25th in EPA per dropback, 33rd in completion percentage, over expected. A lot of that is these drops, or not a lot of it. Some of it is these drops. Some of it he's played bad, but he has had so many drops from Brian Thomas Jr. and others this year. But yeah, at this point, just kind of is what it is on Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's has really a path to be an elite NFL quarterback anymore.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
And also their offensive line, which was playing really well early in the season, now they started to face some tougher opponents. Like the Rams are unbelievable in the defensive front 7, really the front 4, and they just dominated here. But that's also been another big thing for Trevor Lawrence. Also, Travis Etienne, like their running game is Travis Etienne started off really hot, and I mean his yards per carry was still good in this game, but he's not been hitting like big plays like he was early in the season. I wonder if they might flip a little bit more to Bashal Tootin. I think Tootin did play a little bit more than usual in this game.
Yeah, it might. I think the offensive line stuff you talked about is hurting ETN as well. They're just not generating holes in the run game either. Offensive line play has just slowly kind of trailed off for the Jaguars. Raiders. This was a humiliating performance. I mean, one of the worst performances you will ever see from a football team. This was not professional football. They ran 30 plays. I don't think I've ever seen that. And I'm sure there's some data out there. I've never seen a team run 30 plays in a game. Normal is 60. I mean, they are just dead in every facet. And I get it. No Brock Bowers, no Jacoby Myers, no Colton Miller, but this team is bad, bad, bad. Evan, any takes for you on Raiders meltdown in Arrowhead?
Yeah, I think that Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll, I mean, I think we've seen enough, and I think that this is going to be maybe a one and done situation with that coaching staff. And also, I think they should just trade everyone. I think they should trade Brock Bowers.
Oh,
You've already burned 2 years of his rookie contract. You're probably going to burn a third because they're going to have a new coaching staff next year and probably a new quarterback. And I mean, you could maybe get a first-round pick plus for Brock Bowers. They should trade Max Crosby. You might be able to get a first-round pick plus for him as well. You get that contract offer. They should just start trying to – they should try to trade everyone and just try to get draft picks because this is going nowhere. This regime is going nowhere. It's over.
Yeah. It's hard to do full rebuilds in the NFL. The Browns are kind of doing it right now. The Saints finally, after dragging their feet on it, they're kind of doing it now. But man, it's hard to sell the locker room and the fans if you trade Brock Bowers. That's one. And Crosby.
Yeah, the thing is that, Brock Bowers is a baller, right? But is he really going to flip the future of the Raiders? I mean, as much as a first round pick plus could?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think they should trade everybody.
Yeah. I mean, clearly this year's dead and the foreseeable future is dead. It's definitely rough. We've talked a bunch, and I've on the rest of season top 150 show, I think I've done it twice, sell Ashton Genty as my move to make. We talked about it on here after he popped up for a big game against the Bears a few weeks ago. And I get it. These are tough spots. He just has so many tough spots coming. Denver in week 10 and 14. Genty faces Cleveland in week 12. At Philly in week 15. At Houston in week 16. So this was kind of why and it's nothing against Ashton Genty as the player. It's just a really tough spot when your team is so bad and you have all these tough matchups coming up.
They should trade Ashton Genty too.
The one that I think actually is going to get traded or has the best chance, Jacoby Myers. I mean, it is smoldering hot on the Jacoby Myers trade rumors right now. And they have Jack Besh, who they probably want to get a look at to play inside. So it makes all the sense in the world right now to trade Jacoby Myers, maybe back to New England. But that's one that I definitely think could happen before November 4th.
Me too.
Raiders on a bye this week. Sounds like Jacoby and Brock Bowers are expected back if they're still on the team after this week 8 bye.
Bye week. Sounds like an opportunity to just trade everyone.
Let's go to the Miami Dolphins. I mean, this one was kind of predictable. Miami never plays well in bad weather, seemingly. Like it was rainy, it was windy. Dolphins fail yet again, and they fail big time, lose 31-6 to the Dolphins. It's crazy. I actually have a pretty good best ball team, and my quarterbacks were Lamar and Tua. And I was like, oh, it'll be all right. I'll get some points from Tua. Tua got me zero points from Tua in this game. 12 of 23 for 100 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions before getting pulled out of the game. Evan, thoughts on the Dolphins' latest meltdown?
Very similar to the Raiders. Trade everyone. I mean, this is not going anywhere. The GM is going to get fired. The head coach is going to resurface and be a great offensive coordinator somewhere. But this is dead. This is done. And get what you can while you can.
On Monday, Rap Sheet reported no changes for the Dolphins at this time in terms of coaching. They are 1-6 with losses to the Panthers and the Browns this month. It doesn't mean anything when these owners leak, like, I'm not going to fire him. They could turn around and fire him tomorrow. It means absolutely nothing. So I'm still worried about that for the Dolphins stuff. But yeah, they'll find better spots. And I still think like Achane and Waddle are valuable fantasy assets to have as long as Mike McDaniel is in there.
I also got to think it's got to be hard for the owner to be super incentivized to fire them quickly when everybody's calling, even when everybody's calling for it, when they know that they still got to pay the guy, and it's not like, bringing in an interim or promoting some guy from the, assistant coaching staff is going to turn the season around.
Yeah.
The quarterback is a really, really big problem in Miami, unfortunately. Like Tua has gotten worse.
Yeah. And the arm strength issues, just like you can see it just by watching. I mean, it's hard for him.
I don't think, Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 70 yards in the air on that Hail Mary, which that was unbelievable, dude, that he got the ball where he got it. I don't think Tua could throw it 45 yards.
Yeah, I know. It's scary for sure. And also, I was kind of excited about Darren Waller. He's hurt again. Hurt his pectoral, and he is week to week here. So they've lost another weapon. Darren Waller. Let's go to the New England Patriots. This was the Mike Vrabel Bowl, and Mike Vrabel gets his revenge, 31-13 over the Titans team that foolishly fired him a couple years back. Story of the game, though, was Ramondre Stevenson. Didn't fumble, which is always a good thing for Ramondre. But he played awesome, just ripping through holes, even with Tavondre Sweat for the Titans. And when the dust settled, Ramondre had 18 carries. Travion Henderson had 2. Snaps were Ramondre 49, Travion 9. And after the game, Vrabel was asked about it, and he said, it's just kind of how it played out. I thought Ramondre was running well, had some good protections. Travion's still going to be a large part of what we do. That's kind of just where it was this week. He just keeps saying this about Travion, and it never happens. And as we've talked about here, Travion doesn't really deserve it to happen either. So, Evan, thoughts on the Mike Vrabel Bowl and any other Patriots thoughts here?
Yeah, it went kind of as I hoped. Great call by Wiggins on Ramondre Stevenson. Drake May was, he can't miss. And he throws the ball downfield too. He like passes up easy stuff to try to make hard plays, and he goes 21 of 23 in this game. The Patriots actually, they did take their foot off the gas a little bit. I thought that there was one point I was like, oh man, they're getting to 40. And they did take their foot off the gas a little bit late. But Drake May is number 1 among all quarterbacks in EPA per drop back. I think firmly in the MVP hunt. Mm-hmm. As of last week, going into this game, he was number 4 in terms of sportsbook odds in MVP. I don't know. I think that your question has been, is he going to end up with the counting stats at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
Mahomes has it like he's got a firm grip on it right now.
Yeah. And Josh isn't out of it yet, even though they've lost 2 straight. But I do think that in the race, at least, May has moved ahead of Baker, given Baker just lost. Well, we'll see what Baker does, but it's going to be hard for Baker losing Mike Evans, Chris Godwin stuff, etc.
Also, I'm sure you saw the video of Vrabel embracing Terrell Jennings, who I think came off the practice squad to play more snaps than Travion Henderson, and being like, "Oh, we found our 5-minute back."
Yeah.
So
it's not good. Would you drop Travion Henderson right now?
Whew. I would just consider him like an RB5-6 bench stash, but you're right. That's now, a consideration in these leagues that have like 4 or 5 bench spots. him. I mean, he's sharing the number 2 back role in New England with Terrell Jennings.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to drop someone who, is one injury away probably from a pretty good role. But if you only have 4 or 5 bench spots, then yeah, it's okay.
And it's like there doesn't need to be any there doesn't need to be any conspiracy theories about this. Travion Henderson has not been good and therefore has not earned a bigger role.
Yeah.
Period. And when you're not good, it subjects you to the risk of losing your role to a guy like Terrell Jennings off the practice squad. And that's just there's no more to it.
Yeah.
Travion Henderson has not earned getting a bigger role.
By the way, Drake May ran for 62 more yards here. I mean, his game is just so good. He's on pace to run for 485 yards and 5 touchdowns on top of being an extremely efficient thrower, so awesome.
Yeah, you want to talk about trade deadline buyers, man, the Patriots. I'd like to see him add 2 receivers, Jacoby Myers and someone else, someone who could run.
Let's go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers lost to the Bengals on Thursday night in that wild shootout. Fantasy story to me was Jaylen Warren retaking his role back from Kenny Gainwell. Remember, in week 6, it was only 42% of the backfield touches went to Jaylen Warren. In week 7 here against the Bengals, back up to 80% for Jaylen Warren, and he played a really good game here. He looked really good against the Bengals. So it's been, as often with Arthur Smith, tough to predict, but Jaylen Warren seemed to seize control back here. Evan, what do you think of Steelers' game against the Bengals?
Yeah, he looked great. He also had Jaylen Warren, he had a touchdown reception called back in the first half due to a penalty that I don't even think really affected the play. And Jaylen Warren even survived. Aaron Rodgers got pissed off at him at one point, which often means for a player that they get sent off the field. But Jaylen Warren stayed in and continued to ball. So a very, very promising. And it was against the Bengals, okay? But Jaylen Warren played really, really well, independent of the opponent. Again, Aaron Rodgers, that 70-yard Hail Mary was the longest throw recorded by Next Gen Stats during the Next Gen Stats area. They started in 2017. This guy's like about to be 42 years old. That is unbelievable. Did you ever watch those? I'm sure you did. The Pro Bowl competitions,
yeah,
where the dudes would have the longest throw, and that was like without pads on too, and no pass rushers around you. 70 yards would win that. I think Favre would get 60 something. Cordell Stewart could really sling it, but Aaron Rodgers did that with pads on, with bodies around him. Yeah. That was freaking amazing that he got the ball where he did.
Yeah.
It got batted down, but he gave his team a chance at the end.
Yep. It's the ayahuasca, man. I still want to do the ayahuasca thing that Aaron Rodgers, I really do. But yeah. Yeah. By the way, Caleb Johnson, 0 snaps here in this game. So it's all Warren and Gainwell.
Also, Mike Tomlin does not mow his own grass, doesn't even know who mows his grass.
Yeah, I actually just put that old video that we did about you not mowing your own grass either. And so, yeah, I hope that people enjoy that. Check that out on Twitter. Great video.
One of us.
Great video. If you guys have not seen that. By the way, the Steelers defense, I know we've talked about it plenty. They've now faced Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, Drake May, Carson Wentz, Dylan Gabriel, and Joe Flacco, and they're 18th in yards per play allowed. So, not a defense to fear whatsoever. Last team today is the Tennessee Titans. The Mike McCoy era got underway for the Titans, and nothing really changed. They got smoked by the Patriots at home. The Patriots defense smashed in fantasy, just as every defense has smashed against Cam Ward. Cam Ward continues to make flashes, but ultimately, ton of mistakes. Evan, what do you think of Mike McCoy's first game in charge of the Titans?
Yeah, all things considered, it was a good game by Cam Ward. He went 25 of 34 for 255 yards, averaged 7.5 yards per pass attempt, took another 5 sacks, and this guy's going to take 70 sacks for sure if he survives his rookie season. The big note for me was that Tyler Lockett requested his release, will be granted his release, and Shamir Dike, who led the Titans in receiving in this game, is going to jump into that slot role. And Shamir Dike, a little bit of T.Y. Hilton, a little bit of Tyler Lockett actually in his prime to his game, because he's a slot receiver who can run vertical routes. So at least in dynasty leagues, that's something to be at least mildly excited about.
I mean, it's tough for Cam Ward. He's throwing to Van Jefferson, Elik Ayomanor, and Shamir Dike, so like, I get it from that perspective, but yeah. Tony Pollard did lead Tajee Spears in snaps 30-23, which is something that I was watching because when they're getting killed, and they're going to be getting killed a lot this year, I was hoping that Tony Pollard would at least stay on the field, and he did in this game. 30-23 is fine, and he ended up catching 6 balls. So, I thought that was at least a little positive there for Tony Pollard. All right. That is going to do it for another edition of the Team by Team show. Do not forget, NBA starts tonight. If you're interested in DFS, props, anything like that, check out the NBA tab. And we did just reduce the price of NFL rest of season. If you're interested in getting in-season access to our projections, Silva's matchups, all the premium shows, we did just reduce the price for rest of season, in-season product. For Ryan, producer Ryan, I almost forgot his first name. For producer Ryan, for producer Luke, for Evan, for everyone behind the scenes at DTR, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.